I'm so grateful to be here. I'm just grateful to be in this community. What we just did, everything, the meditation, whether you were here for it or not, you're in that field that we created for you. I'm a big proponent of understanding divine language and the energy fields that we're all in. There's one field in particular, and that is the field of the divine. That field of energy that's back of all life, that's just everywhere, and it's bliss beyond your wildest dreams. And so everything we are doing this morning, and that if we're kind of awake in the human experience, when we start to really wake up, and by wake up I mean move into that higher level of consciousness, your higher self, we still really truly start to wake up, there's a richness in life that surpasses human understanding. And it's unbelievable. And it becomes mystical and it becomes magical. And you can move mountains. And so this morning, we start with meditation, affirmation, prayer, and this beautiful music. And I just adore Ray. I don't know how much if he knows how much I just love him and his soon-to-be wife, although I consider you guys already married. But anyway, and to just be in this field where we've all come together to celebrate God, and which is really, to this day, I still find myself kind of like, wow, I'm one of those people who talks about God. Because I didn't used to be one of those people. I used to be one of those people that thought if you talked about God, you were like a weirdo. And now I'm a weirdo. And it's really a good thing. It really is. Because God is so vast. In our teachings, we talk about God as like bliss just starts to capture it. And if you've had a blissful moment, because in the human realm, if you could imagine for a moment, right here, my fingers, my thumb and my upper fingers, this is the human realm. And out here is the infinite of good and bliss and nirvana beyond your wildest dreams. And when we incarnate into the human realm, into the realm of duality, where there's contrast, one of our jobs, if we are up to it, is to funnel or bring down the infinite good, infinite benevolent supply of anything you could ever imagine for the most miraculous heaven on earth experiences, to bring that down into this realm. If we don't do that, then we sometimes get caught up in what we call race consciousness or limited ideas, limited beliefs. And as Ray just said a few moments ago, all of our beliefs are predicated on our choices. And it goes back and forth, because then our beliefs also influence our choices. But if we get stuck in a limited paradigm, it really starts to paralyze or take our life in a degenerative way. So I used to be a degenerate, but I didn't know it. And that's almost the worst thing. If you're a degenerate and you don't know it, it's not good. And what I mean by that was I was living a life that was catering to limitations, catering to fear, catering to lack, but I didn't know it. And in the beginning, if you're not awake, and what is awake? Awake means that you're open to the divine in your own beingness, because we're all created in the image and likeness of God. And to me, we can spend our entire life just contemplating that. All the sacred texts agree. We're born in the image and likeness of God. And so to really, how does that feel in your beingness if you know that to your core, from your core out and from the outside in, where you just know you're born in the image and likeness of God? That's not necessarily, it does include your physical body, but it's not the person you look at in the mirror. It's the eternal spark of our own magnificence that we all have. So all the mystics, and we know that Jesus said, "These and greater things ye shall do," because we are all, every single one of us, equally created in the image and likeness of God, which means the kingdom of heaven resides right where we are. So our job is to navigate the human experience, well, at least I believe to navigate the human experience by allowing the eternal life force energies, in the kind of modern day yogic traditions, we call that the chi, the prana, the life force. But those are about bringing that energy into our beingness. And so when I was leading that life of being a degenerate, what that was doing was I was unconscious and I was letting my ego run the show. I was letting, actually more importantly, I was letting my trauma body run the show. So where we store erroneous beliefs is in our trauma body. So our trauma body is that part of our energy body. So you have your physical body, your emotional body, your mental body, the karmic body, the bliss body, the spirit body. And then there's the trauma body. And the trauma body is where it's that part of our database. So our whole energy body it's a morphogenetic field that holds a database of everything pertinent to our lives. So right now, you may or may not be aware, but every one of us, we're living at the consequence of every single choice we've ever made. Every single choice. The little ones, the big ones, the ones from this life, and the ones from previous lives. Every single one is stored in our own personal Akashic record database of our human energy field. And so later today when I'm doing my workshop, we're going to kind of go over, it comes in handy to have a user's manual of who you are. Because if you don't know who you are, you start to believe who you're not. And you're not a small, limited, constricted, fearful being. We're magnificent, enormous beings of light. But how do we access that? And one of the things is beginning to understand when I came up with the topic today, which is understanding about spiritual growth and the 3 T's of spirituality. So spirituality, and the T is capitalized, when we start to understand that T stands for truth, because everything boils down to the truth shall set you free. All healing is all based on, if it's true healing. Now, you can have an ailment in your physical body, and let's say, I have a headache, and I can go take some aspirin, and I could heal it. Maybe the pain goes away. But true healing would be that I would understand the truth of what that headache was telling me to set me free. So for example, many years ago when I first started on this, back in 2001, I started working in the world of divine energy medicine. And divine energy medicine is a really great gateway to start to understand and feel the languages of God. You start to feel and have a divine discernment. Divine discernment means you are understanding the truth. Not my truth, not your truth, not lowercase t, uppercase t truth. God's truth. And not my God's truth or your God's truth, but the truth. There is a truth that undergirds all life. One of those truths is that we're eternal beings of light. Another one that is everything is good. And so when we allow ourselves to tap into that, we can find that there is good and truth everywhere, all the time. It's an omnipotent, omnipresent, and it's an omniamorous type of experience. And so I had that headache, and I had just started working in the world of divine energy medicine. And one of the things you learn straight out the gate is that you want to befriend pain. And last time I was here, I gave you the acronym for pain, pay attention, inside, now, which means you want to know the truth. And again, I'm reminding you from last time I was here, pain is just simply an alarm to wake you up to something. The alarm clock goes off, time to wake up because you got to go to this place or that place. And so you want to wake up. And so I'm sitting there and had my headache, and I was about to go over and grab some aspirin, and then I was like, wait. What's this telling me? And so my third eye, which was throbbing with the pain, was as soon as one of the easiest things you can do is just be willing. Just be willing to know the truth. Mm-hmm. Evocation is another really important ingredient to understanding God. Evocation is when you start to, if you combine imagination with evocation, which is calling things forward, you're creating a potent remembering. Because your imagination, if you allow it to go into the realm of the divine, will start to allow you to remember the truth. So that's why we do evocations in spiritual communities, is because we're evoking a particular energy, and so we want to call it forward. And so part of the thing that I was doing was I was like, okay, what's what you're telling me? And what it was telling me is that I had just been in a situation where I had been dealing with some people that I didn't trust. I thought they were working against me. And in this particular instance, it was an auto mechanic. And I used to think, I had written in the database of my mental body and started to assign a belief to it that was going to make it nice and ironclad. That all auto mechanics were thieves and evil. And that they would get in there and monkey around and then hand you a bill afterwards for something that wasn't even broken to begin with. And so I had the headache, and the headache was telling me, you don't trust auto mechanics. You know, some people might say, well, of course you shouldn't. You know, why would you? Everybody knows that. And I was like, no. If you're living in a world that is benevolent, yes. So now remember, your world is your world. There's, you know, as Reverend Michael often refers to it, there's like the earth, we're all on planet Earth, that world. But then the rest of it, your experiences are your world. And so your trauma body is going to influence how you interact or see the world. And so we want to clean. Eckhart Tolle refers to the trauma body as the pain body. And so we want to have a clean, imagine, well, I'm going to take you there in a moment. It was telling me I didn't trust the auto mechanic. And so it was like, when you listen to what the alarm is telling you, it will always take you to a truth. And when you get to the truth, it's going to take you to a choice point. What do you want to do? I want to believe, and I want to live, and I want to choose to live in a world where I can trust everybody. I don't want to get into cynicism and pessimism and go down this rabbit hole, which then morphs out into a race-conscious belief, and then we can all agree, let's say we all agree that, you know, evil mechanics exist. Ooh. Then we'll spread the word, you know, to everybody else. And it's like, no, what if we're spreading the word that everybody's trustworthy, that mechanics are trustworthy, car salesmen are trustworthy, and we're all starting to cultivate. And then you're the person, the one I used to make fun of, you're the person who's walking around, oh no, are you kidding? When I went to the mechanic, it was like, not only, and this is what happened. So I cleared that, I made the choice. And this happened the day I took my car to be fixed. What I didn't realize too is when you do something like that, your body will start to tell you. Before the headache came on, there was subtle stuff. There was my emotional body was starting to have a little anguish. My mental body had a little anguish. And my physical body had adrenaline running through it. Why? Why is there adrenaline running through my physical body? Because I took my car to be serviced. Because my body was already telling me, this is an uncomfortable experience and you're expecting something bad. And so, but it had to go to the headache, and this is the energy center that tells you about where, if you trust or not. So it's telling you don't trust. And then the bigger picture was, I also didn't trust a lot of things, the world at large, in a lot of areas. And so we're going to always be taken back with truth to a choice point that can liberate us, and we can unchoose and re-choose and come back to the divine. And so when we come back to the divine, we're going to move from being a degenerate to being a regenerate. And being a regenerate means we're going to start to increase our divine energy quotient. And our divine energy quotient is the amount of chi, the amount of prana, the amount of life force, the amount of good that you allow in your energy body. And so my energy body as a degenerate was starting to diminish. So let's just say I came into the world and I had this much luminosity, one of the T's of God, luminosity, chi, life force. And then as time was getting on, I'm getting older, and people are, oh, yeah, the French are rude, and this and that, whatever. And so I start believing it. And the minute you start adopting and bringing, we call them energetic imprints. Energetic imprints are where we store our false beliefs in our trauma body. And what they do is they interrupt the flow of chi. So your vitality starts to go down and your divine energy quotient starts to diminish. And that's not how we want to, that's not how I want to live. I want to live a regenerative, rejuvenating life that's ever expanding good. So that means some of the warning signs that you're a degenerate on the label, as you take those degenerate pills, are symptoms may include pessimism, cynicism, judgment, hatred. Those are certain things that will diminish the flow of energy in your energy body. And so it can be tricky sometimes. And that's why we do what we do in our spiritual community. We pray, and as Ray was saying, we meditate. Because when you go into the stillness, when you allow your energy body to clean, to cleanse, it will open. And the very same phenomena that cleans a wound or heals a wound after you cut yourself, and all the energy starts to come back to put it back together, happens in your emotional body and your mental body as well. And so we want to, when we go into meditation, when we go into prayer, we open up and we allow the toxins to release, and it makes it much easier for us to get into divine discernment, because most of our problems in life come from misunderstanding the languages of the divine. So I am not interpreting life properly, and then I am therefore a degenerate. And all of our arguments, most of them come from, I didn't hear you, I didn't hear you. If I'm present and I hear you, and so last time we talked about the higher heart. If I am present and I listen to you from my higher heart, I'm going to hear you, which means I'm going to understand you. Right. And if I hear you and I understand you, I'm not going to say the wrong thing that you then misunderstand, and then we get into a fight over. Right. Because I'm opening a field into compassion and love. So we get to start to choose these things. And it makes life delicious. Yes. It makes life rich. And so as we do our work in our spiritual communities, and we're founded on a lineage of amazing people. We've got a living luminary, Reverend Michael Bernard Beckwith, yes, who is just amazing. Yes. I'm so grateful for his being my mentor and my teacher. And he stands in good company with the forefathers and foremothers of our movement, Ernest Holmes and Mary Baker Eddy and a lot of the other people that founded the New Thought movement, which is a movement that is based on truth. Yes. It's based on truth, the truth. And so as we start to cultivate the practices, then we start to get down to what I call the dust bunnies sometimes. They're like little issues, little traumas, it's just a little trauma, I don't need to get bothered with that. And so I started to dig around, and then your practice, I don't know anybody on the planet that doesn't need to heal. Yeah. Healing, we're all here to have fun, we're all here to heal. If you're completely healed and you have no issues, which actually, I'm going to take the opportunity. Imagine right now, I really want you to allow yourself to imagine. You have no issues. None. Zero. No money issues. None. You are completely fluid with prosperity consciousness. Anywhere and everywhere you go, you have more than enough money to do anything and everything you'd like to do. You have no health issues. None. Zero. You have vitality flowing through your physical, mental, emotional bodies and your karmic body. No health issues whatsoever. You are filled with vitality. You have no relationship issues. You love everyone. Everyone. Everywhere you go, you see the divine. Doesn't matter who's got what going on in their life, you have no issues. You love everyone and you allow everyone to love you. You have no love issues. You have no joy issues. You have complete joy and love coursing through your beingness. Your divine energy quotient is at full throttle. You're in the world but not of it. I just want to imagine you have no issues. You have no creative issues. There's no creative blocks. Anytime you sit down to do whatever you want to do to create in the world, because that's what we're here to do, is to create, it just flows. You're doing a mandala. I took the class, and this is beautiful. I was like, wow, a big mandala explosion in here. This is awesome. Took the class, and I had issues in the beginning, like, oh, the colors, what am I going to do? It's like, just a simple thing. I was like, what color am I going to use? But that wouldn't have been there if I had no creativity issues. It would just be, and you just grab the paint. You're a writer, it just flows. It's really good. No issues. I think what we'd do if we had no issues is we would do two things. We would create. Well, no, we would do three things. We might do more, we'll see. We'd create. You'd have really amazing adventures. And this might back up to the first thing. And we'd be of really great service in the world. Yeah. You'd just be serving pretty much. You'd be adventuring, creating, having fun and joy. And you'd just be one of those luminosities, those luminous beings of light that's just walking around with vitality and joy. And that's all here right now. That part of our beingness that has no issues, it's not in some distant land or separate from us. It's right here. That's the divine blueprint. So in sacred geometry, I'm pointing to the flower of life. The flower of life, and what sacred geometry is, if I was going to nutshell it, it's God's code of perfection in the material world. So if you look at the code of perfection of a tree, you'll find the perfect blueprint. The perfect blueprint of a human being is stored in the sacred geometry as that code unfolds. Now our DNA also is part of that. And what happens is those energetic imprints, the erroneous beliefs, the cynicism, pessimism, hatred starts to get in the way. And it goes on top of a little layer of film on top of our perfect blueprint. And that's what starts to limit the light, our light, from shining. So our job in healing is to bring truth and start to allow those to evaporate, or what I say, transmute out of our beingness, so that we are really knowing. Another thing you would also embody in this no issues incarnation is you would know you're a divine being of light. Yes. You would know it. Your toes, your nose, and everything in between would know you're a divine being of light. And it's so humble. It's it's the embodiment of it is not me, but the Father within that doeth the work. And there's so much joy in there. There's a lot of joy. And I'm just going to share one more story. So as I was, ever since 2001 when I woke up, which was just one of the most amazing experiences of my life. It was just a volcanic eruption, and it was great. And but one of the things later on is I had to start doing the work. And the work is like, ooh, what's in here? Like, that's like you're pulling out all your stuff, looking at your energetic imprints. One thing I can tell you is set the intention, because your intentions are very important. Lots of books written on the power of intention for a reason. And the reason is because one of your intentions or choices that you want to make is, I'm going to allow myself to grow and heal and expand through love and joy and goodness. And the reason I mention that is because I stumbled for a little while. somewhere in my database, there was a thing that said, I'm going to heal and grow and expand through arduous, cathartic, hard work. And I was like, after the 20th time of like, wait a minute. There's got to be a better way. And so I chose that, and I chose it. And part of it, as I mentioned earlier, imagining, evoking. Now, there used to be that on Saturday Night Live years ago. I think Stuart Smalley, if you can remember back then. And they would kind of make fun of affirmations, like, oh, I'm wonderful, I'm great, la la, life is... And so they were kind of making fun of it because there was like those airy, fairy, whatever. Well, if you do it at the level of the surface mind, where it's like, I'm prosperous, I'm great, that's a good place to start. But it's when we embody it. And so when you bring your awareness to your heart and you allow yourself to imagine, what is it like to be prosperous? I remember I was watching a television show years ago, and there were some characters, and it was a period piece, and this little girl, she was very poor, and this rich person came into their lives, and she was about to be adopted, and into this really rich family, and the little girl was talking to her sibling, and she's like, I can't even imagine what it's like to be rich. And it's like, well, then let's start by, I'm willing to imagine, because we'll wake it up. Because we do know, and we want to wake up that part of our anatomy, to imagine what it's like. And we're going to talk a little bit during the workshop today, but you've got your human energy field, your energy body, and then it moves out to the next level out is the energy body of your specific individual collective field. There's a morphogenetic field of your friends and family, your co-workers, that are all part of one field. And so one of my favorite analogies is if you can imagine in a band, there's a field that covers the band. And in a band, you have the bassist, the drummer, the keyboardist, the lead singer, and usually they're all doing what they want to do. Like the lead singer is lead singing. They love lead singing, but they need a band. So then somebody who loves playing the drums comes along, and it's like, oh, they love playing the drums, you love singing. Oh, and this bassist comes along, and they love playing the bass. Everybody's doing what they love to do. And then it comes together as this collective of like amazingness. Yes. And you're like, oh my God, and all of it collectively moves you. And you're like, wow. Well, you're supposed to have your own personal band for your life that includes the perfect web designer, the perfect partner, the perfect whatever it is, that all work, and everybody's doing what they love to do. And when I do what I love to do, I complement what you do, and you complement me, and it's like the perfect storm of bliss. That's normal. That's real. That's God. That's what we want. I'm assuming. But we have to kind of start to understand. So I'm going to, I think, a couple minutes. I'm going to just finish with this one story. When I was little, I had a nice dysfunctional family, and I just thought we were the worst. But come to find out later, we weren't so bad. So, but one of the things, well, compared to some other people, but we're not supposed to compare. So anyway, what I didn't realize was, and this is just an example of, most of us don't know what our beliefs are. Mm-hmm. We think we know, and sometimes we even proclaim a belief that we want to believe, but we don't believe. You'll know what you believe because it will outpicture in your life in truth. So if I'm sitting there saying, oh, I'm prosperous, oh yeah, I believe I'm prosperous, and I'm like, about to live out of a box, then maybe I really don't believe that. And so I didn't realize, as I started doing some of my inner work, as I got older in life, my dad was one of those dads, I'll just start off by saying I absolutely love him. He's one of my most beautiful angels. He's crossed over now, but what I didn't realize is he wasn't one of those dads that hugged and loved you and said, how was your day, or anything like that. He was self-absorbed. He was a misogynist. He was really selfish, and he loved women and money. you know, cheated on my mom, blah, blah, whatever. So that's not the point. I'm just trying to laser the story. So what I didn't really realize is that because he wasn't Mike Brady or, you know, one of those fathers that we really cherish, once upon a time I would have said Bill Cosby, but I don't know. I started to develop a belief that I wasn't aware I was developing. Because he didn't treat me the way I imagined, and as time went on, I felt so uncomfortable.